All right, shortly after the Chris Jones situation got settled, albeit Chris's situation is basically a one-year Band-Aid, the Chiefs then turned their attention back to their star quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, restructuring his contract in a way that gives him a nice raise and places him back up near the top of the current quarterback market. So let's talk about it, but first, how about those? A big talk of the offseason was Patrick Mahomes continuing to fall down the ladder of highest paid quarterbacks after QBs like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and most recently Joe Burrow all got new deals done. And basically the most recent QB to get their deal done climbed up to the top of the list for the most part. And once all the recent dust settled, Patrick Mahomes was actually down to number 8 overall on the list, with the 8 looking as follows: Joe Burrow, then Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, and then Patrick Mahomes, and he is obviously better than all of them, and it's not close. Therefore, it only makes sense he moves back up the list. And with all these deals happening, Mike Florio, of course, complained about how underpaid Mahomes was all along the way, basically alluding to the Chiefs being criminals in the way they've mishandled the amount of money they were paying Mahomes. But he insinuated they preferred it that way because the Chiefs prefer not to pay their players unless they absolutely have to. And then back in May, Florio put out a report that said something along the lines of, quote, "Before the season begins, expect Mahomes to once again be the highest paid player in league history." And while many laughed at this report, myself included, it was because Florio is obsessed with this subject and talks about it so much that it's hard to know what to believe and when he's just trying to stir up the Kansas City Chiefs fan base. And while he wasn't spot on here, his report was pretty close, to give him credit. The hiccup in timing could have been the Chiefs needing to let the Chris Jones deal get taken care of first, and when that stalled out, the Chiefs couldn't work something out with Mahomes until that situation with Chris Jones got resolved. And while I would hardly call Chris's situation handled, it's merely a new one-year deal with no new years added, it looks like the Chiefs could then shift focus back to Mahomes and properly compensate him. But as I'll get to here in a bit, it looks like Joe Burrow and his contract getting done also played a role in the timing. Brett Veach said this offseason they have great communication with Patrick and his team, so it's a situation they'd work through, though there was no exact timing because of the constant communication both parties were in. Well, today, which is Monday, September 18th, 2023, the day after the Chiefs' victory over the Jags and a day after Mahomes' 28th birthday, it was announced everywhere, I think by Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport first, that the Chiefs and Mahomes basically agreed to tweak his deal and bring him back near the top of the QB market. He's now set to make over $210.6 million from 2023 to 2026, which is, per the words of Adam Schefter, the most money in NFL history over a 4-season span. Ian Rappaport also noted that this restructure comes with escalators in which the agreement could reach up to $218.1 million by the end of 2026. Schefter also noted that the compensation for those years is now guaranteed, and they plan on revisiting the agreement again after the 2026 season. And to be clear, it looks like he still does have 9 years remaining on his contract, but what they did was restructure his deal by shifting money from the last 5 years to the first 4 years that are still left. So he still gets a well-deserved raise that will still probably not really be enough on the grand scheme of things compared to the actual value he brings the Chiefs, but it reportedly places him back up near the top of the QB market, which is great news. Some think the cap hits will be less in the near future and actually save the Chiefs some cap space, but others aren't so sure yet until details get released. And I personally am of the opinion that Mahomes wouldn't do anything to cash strap the team in the near future, even with the raise. So I would expect some creativity from both sides, talking Veach and company and Mahomes and his agents, to flow out of this one once the details are released, and would expect this to actually hopefully help alleviate cap space in the near future. And while I can't yet speak on future years because of no info, Field Yates did report that on top of accomplishing the primary goal of paying Patrick Mahomes at the top of the QB food chain again, his restructured contract actually creates $2.5 million in 2023 cap space for the Chiefs, which is money that will help them for in-season finances, more excellent salary cap management in KC. And after getting this far in my note prepping, Mike Florio actually did release an article on the subject saying that a source confirmed it now includes no new money, but again, moved payments around to enhance the cash flow, i.e. he got a big raise. Quote, under the adjusted contract, Mahomes receives $56.85 million in 2023. He had already earned $35 million under the existing deal, $44.5 million in 2024, $50 million in 2025, and $56.76 million in 2026. He's also due to receive $59.2 million in 2027, and therefore the ensuing $261 million over 5 years outpaces the other quarterback contracts during that same window. And he goes on to say that the delay was actually because the team was waiting to see what Joe Burrow's contract looked like first, so they could then make the most intelligent assessment of the amounts to be committed to Mahomes. So there you have it. Florio was actually nearly fully correct in his reports back in May, from what I can tell. Sure, it didn't happen before week 1. It's actually on the way to week 3 here. But if they are solely basing this on the 2023 to 2026 payouts, I mean, Mahomes is at $208.1 million, Jackson $208 million, Burrow $181.7 million, and then Herbert and Hurts are down below that. So that will technically, based on the payouts over these 4 years, make Mahomes the highest paid player once again. And I am more than willing to eat crow and tip my hat to the man Florio if that is indeed the case. I will say though, I'm sure the Chiefs were more than happy to work this out with Mahomes and aren't the scumbags Florio attempts to paint them out to be. And that's why this was handled quietly with literally zero drama. I mean, anytime Mahomes was asked about it, he said, hey, he's getting paid pretty well, enough to set his family up for life, and he wants to always balance basically getting paid what he feels like he's worth, but being able to leave some on the table to build a team around him. And so that's why I think Mahomes and his team, Brett Veach and company, they're going to do something creative to where it's not going to leave them so strapped for space that they can't afford to pay anybody moving forward. And to be clear here, I am 1,000% on board with Mahomes making as much money as humanly possible because, again, he deserves it and more for what he's already helped this franchise achieve in just 5 short years as a starter. Now, a look to the future. Could this restructured raise now free up enough to bring back Chris Jones in free agency after this season? I mean, surely he's looking at the Chiefs a bit sideways after fighting for a pay raise and returning on a new, not really, 1-year deal, only to see Mahomes get a big ol' pay raise. Then there's also players like Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith to think about sooner rather than later. And on top of that, Snead and Willie Gay are on contract years and set to be free agents this next offseason, as is Chris Jones. So there's lots to ponder and think about, and I'll be curious to see how it all plays out. And with that being said, what do you guys think about Mahomes and his new raise that reportedly puts him back up top or near the top of the QB market? Are you worried that it could cash strap the team, or are you more in line with my thinking that Mahomes and Veach and company will be creative about it and could possibly even help free up some space here in the near future? Let me know your thoughts either way on that in the comments down below. And regardless of how it shakes out, again, Mahomes deserves it. I'm happy for him. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?